Hello. Good morning, students. Hello. So let me finish this. Okay, students, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to quickly start with today's class. Just give me a second here. Welcome, everybody. Everybody, welcome to the class of today. And I'm going to, give me a second here. I'm just waiting here. Okay, students, right now I'm going to explain you a little bit of what we're going to do today. Okay, we're going to quickly start with today's class, which is reading class. And we are going to start working with it. Okay, there it is. Very good, very good, very good, very good. Okay, students, got it. Here we are. Okay, everybody, welcome. We're going to start now with our class, with our reading class. And today we're going to start reading the story of this lesson number 5, week number 4. So I'm going to show you here the plan of the day. We're going to go over the week number 5, model number 4. The story, we're going to listen to half of the story, and the other half of the story, we're going to read it. I'm going to call people to read the story. Also, we're going to make a report about this story, and your material is going to be your notebook and your Pearson book. That's the only material you're going to need. You don't need nothing else. That's the only thing you will need, okay? Now, students, remember that for tomorrow, you're going to have your quiz. So you have to study for your reading about the story, and you also need to go ahead and study the vocabulary words and the conventions topic. Okay, so we are going to quickly start with it. So I'm going to go ahead and check who are here in the class. I see Elena, I see Bruno, Leah, Jimena, Silvana, Amsi. I also see there Julie, Luis Pablo, Eduardo. I know Pablo Solano is there, Alondra, Marco, Alondra, Lea Nicole, Maria Angel, Santiago. Okay, very good students, nice. We're just missing Lia Lagarda, but she's not connected. Okay, Elisa is here. We're also missing Elisa and Lia Lagarda. Okay, so those are the 2 people that we're missing today. So very good students. I'm going to start sharing here yes, Silvana, what is the question, Silvana? Yes, open your microphone, Silvana.
What is the name of the book? Notebook. Spelling, conventions, reading. What?
Reading.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to start, students. Here we are. I'm going to start projecting the story. This story that I'm going to put here, it's a story that you already know. Maybe you already read it, but some of you have not read it, okay? I'm going to start sharing here the story. The story, it's the Encyclopedia Brown. That's the story that we're going to read. We had this story before we went out of vacations of Semana Santa, but we're going to go through this story because This story is going to come in the exam of next week, okay? So we need to remember the story. We need to remember what is it about. And tomorrow quiz, it's going to be also about the story, okay? So you have to pay attention to this and remember the story because we are going to go ahead and have some questions about the story, okay? So I want for you to pay attention. We're going to listen to half of the story and then we're going to read the other half, okay? Very good, students. I'm going to quickly put the audio here.
Encyclopedia Brown and the Case of the Slippery Salamander. Written by Donald J. Sobel. Illustrated by Brett Hellquist. Genre: realistic fiction tells about events that could really happen. As you read, think about how the events in this story are similar to events in real life. Question of the week: how can attention to detail help solve a problem? To a visitor, Idaville looked like an ordinary seaside town. It had churches, 2 car washes, and 3 movie theaters. It had bike paths, sparkling white beaches, a synagogue, and plenty of good fishing spots. But there was something out of the ordinary about Idaville. For more than a year, no child or grown-up had gotten away with breaking a law. People wanted to know, how did Idaville do it? The secret resided in a red brick house at 13 Rover Avenue. That was where Idaville's police chief lived with his wife and son. Chief Brown was a smart, kind, and brave man. But he wasn't the one who kept crooks from getting away with their crimes. No, the brains behind it all was his 10-year-old son, Encyclopedia. Encyclopedia's real name was Leroy, but only his parents and teachers called him that. Everyone else called him Encyclopedia because his brain was filled with more facts than a reference book. Sometimes the Brown family was tempted to tell the world about Encyclopedia's amazing talent as a crime solver. But so far, they hadn't leaked a word. For one thing, the Browns didn't like to boast. For another, who would believe that Idaville's top detective was a 5th grader? One Monday night, Chief Brown sat at the dinner table staring at his plate of spaghetti. So far, he hadn't slurped up a single strand. Encyclopedia and his mother knew the reason. The chief wasn't eating because he had come up against a crime that he couldn't solve. Encyclopedia waited for his dad to tell him about the case. Whenever Chief Brown was stumped, Encyclopedia cracked the case for him, usually by asking just one question. At last, Chief Brown looked up. "There was a theft at the aquarium today," he said, rubbing his forehead. Last summer, an aquarium had opened near the beach. The most popular attractions were the giant shark tanks, the dolphin shows, and the Den of Darkness. The Den of Darkness was a huge indoor exhibit of reptiles and amphibians. Encyclopedia especially liked visiting the frogs and salamanders in the amphibian section. "I hope the great white sharks weren't stolen," Mrs. Brown said with a smile. "That would certainly take a bite out of business." Chief Brown shook his head. It wasn't the sharks. Encyclopedia put down his fork and listened carefully as his father explained that Fred, A tiger salamander had been stolen. Fred was shipped to the aquarium only 2 days ago, Chief Brown said. He was being kept apart from the other animals until the officials were sure he was healthy. If he got a clean bill of health, he was to go on display next month. Do you have any clues, dear? Mrs. Brown asked. The chief frowned. Not many. All we know is that the salamander disappeared this morning, sometime between 10:30 and 11:45. Why would someone steal a salamander? Mrs. Brown wondered. Fred is the aquarium's only tiger salamander, her husband explained. From what the director of the aquarium told me, someone could sell him for a lot of money. Really? Mrs. Brown's eyes widened. Do you think a visitor might have stolen him? It's very unlikely, Chief Brown replied. Employees and volunteers are the only ones who have access to the back room in the den of darkness where Fred was being kept. Chief Brown told Encyclopedia and Mrs. Brown that 3 people had been working at the exhibit that morning. Mrs. King, who volunteered at the aquarium every Monday, Sam Main, the man in charge of cleaning and maintaining the exhibits, and Dr. O'Donnell, an expert on reptiles and...
Okay, students, and amphibians. Okay, till this point, we are reading about this family, the Brown family, who are living in this city, that they have like this aquarium, this big aquarium, this shelter. And the Browns are the family of the chief of the police. The chief is like the highest person in the police, el comandante. The chief is like the most important part of the police team. So Mr. Brown, the father of Encyclopedia, whose original name is Leroy, they are trying to solve this case. In the aquarium, there was a salamander, a tiger salamander named Fred, and he was stolen. He was stolen the last day. So they're trying to solve this little mystery about who stole the amphibian or who stole the salamander. Remember, it's a tiger salamander, and tiger salamanders are very, very weird. They are not very common to be found. So if you sell a tiger salamander, you can have a lot of money. So that's why the people are trying to steal the salamander. So let's try to see if we can find out who is the one that's stealing the salamander, okay? We're going to continue to listen, and then I'm going to be calling people to read, okay?
Did you question the 3 of them? Mrs. Brown asked. The chief nodded. Dr. O'Donnell spent the morning examining a new crocodile from Australia. Sam Main told me he was busy cleaning out exhibits and feeding some of the lizards. Several people saw him working, Chief Brown added, so it looks like he's telling the truth. What about Mrs. King? His wife prodded. Chief Brown frowned. Actually, Sam Main seems very suspicious of Mrs. King, he confided. And after talking with her, I can see why. Mrs. King is fascinated with salamanders. Fascinated with salamanders? Mrs. Brown echoed. The chief nodded again. She told me she has dozens of them at home as pets, and that Fred is the first tiger salamander she's ever seen. He shook his head. Mrs. King does seem odd. She thinks salamanders are sacred creatures with magical powers. Encyclopedia spoke up. In ancient times, people used salamanders for medicine. They also believed that salamanders could eat fire and live in flames. Maybe Fred wasn't stolen for money, Mrs. Brown said thoughtfully. Maybe Mrs. King took Fred just because she thinks he's a special specimen. That's exactly what I've been thinking, Chief Brown admitted. But there's no proof that Mrs. King had the opportunity to steal Fred. She was with a group of school children from 10:30 to 11:15. After that, she went over to the cafeteria for a coffee break. One of the cashiers said he saw her there. Chief Brown sighed with frustration. I hate to admit it, but this case has me baffled.
Okay, so we're going to continue reading from this point all the way to the next part of the story. So I'm going to continue reading and then I'm going to be calling people to read, okay? So it says, let's go ahead and take a look to the reading. It says here, Chief Brown sighed with frustration. I hate to admit, but this case has me baffled. Encyclopedia closed his eyes. His parents watched him hopefully. They knew that when Encyclopedia closed his eyes, it meant he was doing his deepest thinking. A moment later, Encyclopedia was ready. He opened his eyes and asked his one question. Has Sam Maine been working at the aquarium long, Dad? Actually, he was hired only 2 weeks ago. Chief Brown answered, but he has a lot of experience. Sam told he's been taking care of salamanders and other lizards for more than 19 years. That was all Encyclopedia needed to hear. Oh no, he wasn't, Encyclopedia declared with a satisfying smile. If he's a lizard expert, then I'm the Queen of England. Sam Maine is lying, and I can prove it. How does Encyclopedia know? Okay, so we're going to read a little bit of why this little boy, Encyclopedia Brown, Leroy Brown, the little boy, thinks that Sam Maine is the one that stole the salamander. Okay, Jimena, so you're going to be the first to help me read, okay? I'm going to open your microphone. Okay, help me read.
Encyclopedia knew that Sam Maine was lying because he told Chief Brown he'd been taking care of salamanders and other lizards for many years. Anyone who'd been taking care of salamanders for that long world that salamanders are not lizards. They are classified amphibians, lizards are classified reptiles.
Okay, very good. So, Amcy, continue reading, please. Amcy. Open your microphone, Amcy, please, so you can continue reading.
Okay. Sam Maine admitted stealing the balloon new tiger salamanders that morning after he ordered Fred to aquarium. He was fired from his job as
Caretaker. Okay, very good, Amcy, very good. So now let's go to the next page. Okay, we're going to read about salamanders fact sheets, okay? That's very important to understand. Elisa, I want for you to read class.
Class. Members of the amphibians class. Salamanders have to live in wet environments. All amphibians are cold-blooded animals with a backbone vertebrae that spend part of their time on land and part in water. Salamanders need to breathe air and drink water from their skins.
Very good, Elisa. Very good. Thank you so much. Who else wants to read? Please raise your hand. We need to read size, habitat, range, appearance, and life space. Who can help me read? Santiago. Santiago, help me read size.
No, Mister.
Yes.
Mister, this salamander fact sheet will be in the exam.
Yes. Okay.
Mister, but this is soft science.
I know, but it's part of the reading. Okay. So get ready to read. Read size, Santiago.
Salamanders are measured from their heads to the end of their tails. Most are small, ranging 1 to 5 inches, 2.54 to 12.7 centimeters long. The pygmy salamanders can be small at 1/2 inches, 3.8 centimeters. The giant gigant salamander can grow to over 5 feet, 1.8 meters long.
Very good. Thank you, Santiago. So we have all size salamanders. They can be very small as the pygmy salamander, which is 3.8 centimeters, or they can be as big as the giant Chinese salamander, which can be 1.8 meters, okay? Imagine 1.8 meters, it's very, very big. It's like the size of me. I'm 1.76. The giant salamander can be a little bit bigger than me, okay? So that's the big the salamander can get. Or it can be very small as 3.8 centimeters, like more or less this size. But they can grow big as the size of me, okay? They can be very big or they can be very small, okay? Now I'm going to call Bruno. Read habitat and range. Bruno?
Habitat. So, salamanders inhabit every continent except Australia and Antarctica. Range. They live in any damp area, ponds, swamps, forests, in holes, and under rocks.
Very good, Bruno. So, salamanders can be all over the planet. They can be in ponds and swamps and forests, in holes and under rocks. The only places that they do not live, it's in Australia and Antarctica. Why Australia and why Antarctica? Because Australia, it's an island, and in that island, salamanders do not live. And in Antarctica, because it's very, very cold and they need to be wet, okay? That's why salamanders do not live in Australia and in Antarctica. Very good. Now, appearance. Maria Angel, read appearance, please. Maria Angel, open your microphone and read appearance.
Their skins are mouths with spots or stripes. They are usually dark colors, but some are red or orange. They do not have scales, ears, or claws.
Very good, very good. Nice job, Maria Angel. So the salamanders, they have spots or they have stripes. They are dark colors. They can be red or orange, and they do not have scales, ears, or claws. Okay, that's very important. That's a question of the exam. Okay, they're going to tell you, how are salamanders? They are with smooth skin. They can have spots or stripes in dark red and orange colors, and they do not have scales, ears, or claws. They're going to give you like answer that question, and they're going to give you like answers, and you have to choose the one that is the best. Okay, and lifespan. Okay, lifespan is how many years they live. If they live very long or they live very, very short. It says most salamanders live from 8 to 20 years. Some live more than 50 years, okay? So salamanders can live from 8 to 20, which is the most regular, but some of them also live more than 50 years, okay? That's what the salamanders look like. This they are. Here you have a red black salamander, and here you have the Chinese giant salamander, okay? These are very special. They are in, the salamanders are very, very special. The Chinese consider them as dinosaurs. They consider these salamanders as sacred, as gods, or they consider them like something very important because they are very old and they are very big, okay? So Chinese consider these animals very, very, very sacred, okay? That's good. Now, let's go to Pearson. Give me a second. Oops. I'm trying to do this much smaller. And, okay, very good. So I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, students, so I'm going to do a little review. I want for you to copy this review in your notebook. Everybody take out your notebook. I want for you to copy this in your notebook, okay? I'm going to do it here in the writing page, in a Word. Let me open the document. Where is it? Okay, so here it is. I'm going to do it here in the bottom. Reading, okay? So I'm going to put the combo, and I want for you to write this. Mr. Miguel, I'm going to write everything, and at the end, I'm going to explain you a little bit, okay? So be copying this in your notebook. I want for you to copy this. Right now, I'm going to answer the questions. It's Thursday, June 18, 2020, okay? The value, remember, it's punctuality, okay? So now we're going to put Encyclopedia Brown. Encyclopedia Brown, okay? I'm going to do this bigger right now. I know it doesn't seem, I know, don't worry. Right now I'm going to share it. Here it is. And here. Okay, there are some questions there. Right now I'm going to answer the questions. Don't worry, right now I'm going to answer the questions. Write this information in your notebook, okay? Yes, Alondra, what's the question?
What we have of homework?
Study for your quizzes. Tomorrow you're going to have conventions, reading, and vocabulary quiz.
Okay, and another thing.
Yes.
I don't understand
Right now I'm going to explain the
Encyclopedia Brown.
Don't worry, right now I'm going to explain it. Let me just write the report so you can have it in your notebook, okay?
Mister, you're gonna explain right now Encyclopedia Brown?
Yes, right now I'm going to explain it, don't worry. As I'm writing the information, I'm going to explain you the story. Yes, Julie? Julie? Yes, what's the question?
The salamanders are venomous.
What?
The salamanders are venomous.
Some of them? Some of them, yes. Okay, so let me write the information, students. I'm just going to write here the information so you can copy it in your notebook, okay? So the story is the Encyclopedia Brown. I'm going to put the author and the illustrator. It's Donald. It's the author of the story. It's Donald. Donald Sobol. Sobol. Okay. The story's genre is a realistic fiction. Okay. That means that it tells events that can really happen. Okay. Now, what is the question of the week? Week is that the importance, how can attention to details solve a problem? How can attention to details help solve a problem? Okay, that's the question of the week. Now, who are the main characters? Okay, the main character that we are talking about, it's Leroy Brown. With, okay, Brown. Be copying this information in your notebook, students. With Encyclopedia. And then the normal characters. The characters are Mrs. Brown, the Chief Brown. We also have who are the other characters are the ones that are in the aquarium, who are the three characters that also, the ones that are part of the aquarium, well, the salamander Fred, the salamander. Fred, the salamander. Fred, salamander. And we also have Mrs. King. Mrs. King. We have Dr. O'Donnell. Dr. O'Donnell. And we have the criminal, who is Sam Main. The thief, who is Sam Main. Okay? Those are the characters, students. The thief, the chief. With the main characters, it's Leroy Brown, who is Encyclopedia. And the characters are Mrs. Brown, the chief, Salamander Fred, Mrs. O'Donnell, Dr. O'Donnell, Mrs. King, and Sam May. Okay, where is the story taking place? Where is the story taking place? It's in an aquarium. In the city of, it's called, here it is. The name of the city is, let me see, where is it? Where's the name of the city? I have it here. I need to find it only. Where is it? Idaville. The city of Idaville. Okay? Now, what is the plot? What is the story about? This story is about the robbery of Fred. Well, no, this story is about the family, the Brown family, who are police detectives, okay? And Leroy Brown, a 12-year boy, is the best detective in Idaville City. Okay, that's the story. Now, what is the problem? If we do not finish, students, in the Zoom closes, don't worry, we're going to continue next class. Okay, so continue writing this in your notebook. Don't worry. Problem, what is the problem? There's a mystery